Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to my art studio today. We're going to dive into a little tech talk today on the Lumix G100, which I've been spending quite a bit of time with lately, vlogging with it and actually capturing some stills as well. I've got some information to share with you guys. We'll go over a few of the specs, some of the menus, some of the cool new features that make it stand out compared to other Lumix cameras, and how I see this kind of fitting into our workflow and possibly yours as well. So stay tuned. So the G100 is quite a powerful little camera. It is micro four thirds, which is great. Interchangeable lenses, which is great. You can pull from all the amazing micro four thirds glass out there. And it also has the ability to order it with this little tripod slash selfie stick, as you can see here. You can turn it on yourself. And there is a record button. Let me bring this down. In the front of this also, where you can hit record, which is great, really simplifies things. And of course you can adjust with the knob and tilt and turn, and you can set it down anywhere you want to. And let's say you're sitting in a restaurant, flip the little screen out. It's got a fully articulating screen, be able to see yourself and actually vlog in that way. So powerful little system, but let's go into more details of this camera as well. We'll dive into the laptop and just go over a few of the specs because I think that's important. 20.3 megapixel digital live MOS sensor, UHD 4K 30p, video, pre-installed vlog, which is really nice, and we'll go over the different resolutions of video and vlog and those things. As a 5-axis hybrid image stabilization, I want to mention this is not like a GH5 where it is IBIS on the sensor. It is electronic stabilization, which has a couple of interesting benefits and also some things that I don't think it's quite as stable for, but you'll see what I mean. It works when it works and does things quite well for certain things. So let's go into the Ozo audio, which is pulled from Nokia actually. Their surround sound or 360-degree cameras. And it has subject tracking, which is kind of interesting. We'll go into the microphone in some more detail in just a moment. A 3-inch full angle touchscreen as well. A 3.68 dot magnified OLED viewfinder, so you can really get up and into the camera. I love this because you can get up close and just kind of get everything else out of your view and work like a photographer instead of a video artist looking at a screen all the time. I think that's really important. A great UI for vlogging. You'll see some more details on that shortly. Advanced depth to defocus AF system works better than other Lumix cameras that I've used. And it does have 4K photo, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi connectivity for you to be able to connect to a smartphone, get your photos out to Instagram or anything else out, everything else on the move. Comes with a 12 to 32 millimeter lens as well. As you can see here, this is the kit lens, 3.5, 5.6 lens, but it's tiny. You can fit this in a jacket pocket, of course. I should do that. And you just turn it to open it, and now it's wide open, and you've got a zoom, manual zoom here on it also. So little glimpse of that scenario. One or two more specs. One more spec, 7.77 pounds. It's incredibly lightweight, much smaller than a GH5 or a G9, and that's quite helpful. With the tripod and kit, comes in at $797.99, just to give you a glimpse of the price point. How are we using it? Well, a bunch of different ways. One of my favorite ways, because it is so small, is to use this mounted on a platypod in my car while we're driving and capture that car shot. I've got a 7-14 f4 on it, as you can see here. You'll see that it is actually tracking our faces when I play this video. And one of the nice features is I used to mount it, in my car with any other camera, and then I'd have to try and focus it and with peaking and get it nailed in, right? This, just let it saves so much time. Just let it find your faces, and as you'll see, it held quite well, and a new way to be able to just work in the car. So let's give you a glimpse of this.
So here it is. Here's how we're holding our camera and our car. It's such a cool feature.
Yeah, so we've got the platypod rigged up with the Lumix G100, and that's how we're getting these shots, which is pretty cool. And it's just awesome because it has these little feet and grips that allow you to kind of adjust them perfectly for your individual dash.
Yeah, and I'm totally super surprised on these bumpy country roads. It is totally staying steady. It's awesome.
So that should share with you just how bumpy the ride is. She's kind of capturing that on a cell phone, but you can see how stable the footage is with this. That's an improvement in some ways. It's more like a GH5S in that way because you don't have image stabilization or a 5-axis stabilizer every time you hit a bump kind of jumping just a little bit. So this works well for those car-mounted shots like a GH5S would. So that's my favorite new camera for that shot. Let's dive into some photography on the camera because I believe that this is a great photographic camera for anyone who's just wanting to get into Micro Four Thirds or as a backup camera to a GH5 or G9 or other system as well. If you're a still photographer out there, you can capture in RAW, you can capture in JPEG. We'll dive into some of that shortly, but beautiful landscapes most certainly on this camera. Let's look at some still photography as well from another perspective and look at some vlogging. Now, I'm gonna put a link up above to more of this footage. We actually vlogged with this camera, this entire vlog shot on the G100, and you'll be able to see how it works. But I wanna quickly show you my wife working on a Lumix GH5, creating portraits with a Profoto B10, and I'm doing the duck walk here. And no, it's not a gimbal in terms of stabilization, but you can see it works pretty well here when I want to actually be on the move and kind of circling somebody. So basically here I am working duck walking the whole time and just kind of coming towards my wife, spinning around her, right? And this camera did it incredibly well. I was using a 7 to 14 millimeter f4 to capture the shot that you just saw. Love that we have all our interchangeable lens opportunities as well. Let's look at some stills. You can go behind the scenes of this as well. I will put a link above for this. Just a little photo walk portrait session. My wife using the Lumix S1, and I was shooting on the Lumix G100 from behind the scenes, but I said, let me switch to stills for a few, and easy to switch from stills to video on this camera really quick, and just to show you a glimpse of still photography on this camera. Again, somebody who wants to get into Micro Four Thirds and a young photographer or vlogger, it's a great entry-level camera for photography. Skin tones as beautiful. The reason we love Lumix, their color science, just amazing. Looks just as amazing as their other Micro Four Thirds cameras. And just to give you a glimpse of some still photographs on this camera. It is not just a vlogging camera. Let's dive into the menu just a little bit. Give you a glimpse here. Yes, it has all the different exposure modes you'd expect. Manual, shutter priority, aperture priority, program mode. Of course, I work in manual most myself, but of course we expect those features. Let's talk about the microphone a little bit. You have a microphone built in that has a lot of capabilities. As you can see here, in front, it will actually show you on the screen. It's capturing from about 180 degrees to the front. And then you've got surround, which is capturing all the way around, 360 degrees. And then you've got auto. It will know, it will be in surround, but if it sees that you're going into a selfie mode, we'll switch to front audio automatically. Tracking, just like you're seeing it track for autofocus, it's tracking for audio. It knows if the subject is on the left or on the right. And then also in the back. So what's cool about the back mode is, let's say I'm a photographer, my subject's over there, and I want to talk about what I'm capturing. I can actually talk into the camera back here, and it's capturing my audio crisp and clear, and I can talk about and narrate my footage or my photographs here, which is a really nice way to do things. Let's see, let's dive into a little glimpse of how the audio sounds. I think this is a pretty cool location here.
I think that the textures are absolutely incredible.
And so that is just in selfie mode, kind of holding it out here, you know, to capture this type of shot here, and just to give you a glimpse of the audio and just how clear it is. All the different resolutions for video, let's go through them real quick. We have 4K 30p, 24p at 100 megabit per second, 28 megabit full HD 60p for slow-mo, Full HD 30p at 20 megabit, Full HD 24 megabit at 24p, and also a lower than that, I think it's 720p. And so, you know, if you want to go with the full 100 megabit, great. If you want to drop it down just a little bit, that is certainly an option. Also, if you need to save space on your chip, you're running out of space or something like that. And it still looks quite amazing even at those lower megabit per second clips. Diving into the color options here, gotta go this way. Of course we have standard, and then we can adjust any way we want and save our own custom profile if we wish as well. Of course we have vivid, very vivid colors, natural, very flat, monochrome, L monochrome D, my favorite for black and white, scenery, portrait, there's your custom which you can set up, Cinelike D, Cinelike V, a little more contrasty for video, and there we have it. Vlog built in for when you really want to capture the maximum dynamic range that the sensor can in a video format and have the ability to add a LUT or a profile to your footage later. Let's talk about filters built in also. Now, a lot of professional photographers are like, I would never use filters, whatever. I use them, and I'll show you how, and I'll show you why. I'm just going to let this play and I'll talk about it. I love that there are these little filters built in, because as an artist, I'll go out and sometimes I'll set one of these and it will be saving a JPEG. I'll do RAW plus JPEG. I'll be working in one of these creative modes, expressive modes, and then I will also capture the RAW file as well. So that when I get back home, I can start from scratch and, you know, build the file however I want to. But I think it's cool that I can, as I'm looking through the viewfinder, I can have a filter set up to where that's what I'm seeing. And what it does is it tricks your mind a little bit into thinking differently and feeling artistic about it, and knowing that you've got a JPEG of whatever you were seeing, but you also have that RAW file when you get back. I think it's a fun way to work. I think having filter sets built in is a pretty cool little thing. So let's go into talking about the electronic stabilization. There's two modes. There is standard and there is high. Now high is going to have to crop the sensor quite a bit more, I should mention. And so generally I would want to be in standard for the electronic stabilization. You're not going to work in high out here at a 12mm lens. It's just going to crop in too much. But so in a selfie mode, definitely working this way. If you're using a longer lens though, maybe consider going into high, and then it just gives you a little more stabilization electronically for the shot also. I should also mention one of the cool features. When you're in selfie mode, it will do a countdown, and then, best part of this camera, it shows a red line all the way around the screen. You can see it tracking me in and out and how well it's holding autofocus as well as I move around. But having that red indicator for video is such a blessing. It is one of the best features in the camera. I would love to see a firmware update come to the other Micro Four Thirds cameras or any of the other cameras from Lumix. It's just such a great feature to go, I know it's recording, not having to look for the little bubble just sets it off, you know, firsthand. So that's kind of my 2 cents on the G100. It's not really a full review here per se. There's lots of people talking about the specs and going into detail. I wanted to talk about it from a perspective of a creative professional. I've been doing this for 20 plus years, and just how I see it fitting into our lives as vloggers, also as photographers. You know, this is so lightweight. I could see myself just rolling out with this thing on a regular basis to capture some stills as well. And quite a powerful little camera for under a pound for capturing anything you want to. So that's a wrap for today, everybody. Stay tuned to our channel for a lot more. We have some major life changes coming. We are leaving this all behind and going on a traveling adventure that's going to be of epic proportions. More details coming with an announcement very soon to our channel. I'm just trying to get a couple of cool things figured out before I announce it, get it all laid in, right? And so that's a wrap for today. We appreciate you. Have a great one. You guys take care.